Hi everybody, foXnoMad here, and today I want to help you travel smarter by reviewing this portable mouse. It's the latest in Logitech's Anywhere series, which is a line of mice that they've developed, which are trimmed down physically so that they can be more portable and easier to travel with. Now this Anywhere 3 is the successor to the 2S, and even though it's beefed up on features, it might be a little bit too slim for some people. First though, let's start with what might be one of the most minimal unboxings on this channel, because this is all that comes in the box. You have this small wireless receiver, but for most of you, you'll be connecting this mouse directly via Bluetooth to your laptop, in which case you don't need the receiver. Aside from that, there's a USB-C cable for charging the Anywhere 3 battery, which when it's fully charged gives you 70 days. Yes, 70 days of battery life. Like the 2S, the 3 also quick charges, giving you 3 hours of battery within a minute of being plugged in. And I'll add, if that minute still isn't quick enough for you, you can use the Anywhere 3 by plugging it in, so you don't have to worry about any amount of time being without a mouse. The battery, by the way, like the 2S, isn't changeable, but if you've seen my road tested series on that mouse, you know that you'll get at least 2 years of battery life that you can measure in weeks. In other words, on that mouse, you can still get about 4 to 6 weeks of battery life after 2 years of daily use, so hopefully Logitech has built the same durability into the Anywhere 3. The Anywhere 3 comes in 3 colors, light gray, pink, or this graphite, which for my money is the best color option. Otherwise, the Anywhere 3 looks like an ordinary wireless mouse, but it's got some tricks up its sleeve. On the surface, the Anywhere 3 has your typical left and right buttons, these thumb buttons, and a scroll wheel with another button up here as well. And similar to the 2S, you can use the Anywhere 3 on pretty much any surface, whether it's wood, plastic, or even glass. And just like on the 2S, you can connect the Anywhere 3 to 3 separate devices and switch through those devices using this hardware button on the back. There's an indicator light too, which shows you the general charge level of the battery. And as you would expect, Logitech has kept the Anywhere 3 physically slim like the rest of the Anywhere line. It measures 10 by 6 by 3.3 centimeters and weighs just under 99 grams. In the hand though, the Anywhere 3 feels a little bit flat, literally. And even for a slimmed down travel mouse, the lack of an arch could get uncomfortable after a while. If you've got big hands especially, the Anywhere 3 is going to be hard to use as your everyday mouse. The buttons though are pretty clicky, which is really nice, and the rubber here around the edges is smooth and soft, and it provides a pretty good grip. The thumb buttons are a little bit small and hard to reach, but for me personally, it's rare that I use them at all. And Logitech has removed the left and right functions of the scroll wheel that came on the 2S. There's no instruction manual in the box, but rather a link to a short tutorial showing you where most of the configuration is done, and that is through the Logi Options app. In this new version for the Anywhere 3, the Logi Options app is much more versatile and adds one highly requested improvement over the 2S. I know for a lot of you doing CAD work or other design work, not having a clickable scroll wheel was a deal breaker on the 2S, but it seems like Logitech has heard your complaints, and you can now, on the Anywhere 3, click using this center button, and through the Logi Options app, you can also map this click to a whole bunch of different options, which makes it much more versatile than the 2S. In the Logi Options app, you can choose what pressing down the scroll wheel will do, mapping it from simple clicks to pause and play or opening files. The wheel click isn't very, clicky, and it doesn't give you satisfying tactile feedback, but it does click, and unlike the 2S, can actually be used as another functional mouse click. The middle button above the scroll wheel is also equally as customizable, but its default setting is a switch between clicky scrolling and infinite scroll. Those two settings, clicky scroll, and I'm just going to call it clicky scroll, like here on the 2S, when you move it, it doesn't have much momentum and it's a much slower scroll, versus when you push down on the 2S, you get infinite scroll where the wheel keeps scrolling like that, and it's great for moving up and down web pages or documents very quickly. And Logitech has brought both of those features to the Anywhere 3, but with some smart enhancements. Infinite scroll is a feature I use almost all the time, and it lets the wheel smoothly roll up and down web pages or within apps like Final Cut. On the Anywhere 3, this middle button toggles between those two modes, because remember, the scroll wheel now when you push down is a click. It doesn't switch between those modes like it does on the 2S, but what Logitech have done is also included a feature called Smart Shift. Basically what Smart Shift does is it detects the rate at which you're scrolling. At slower speeds, you are in clicky mode, but when you scroll just a bit faster, the Anywhere 3 automatically switches into an infinite scroll. It's a nice feature that's implemented well, and you can adjust how sensitive Smart Shift is or disable it altogether if you want to stick to one of those two modes all the time. You can also scroll horizontally by holding one of the thumb buttons and then using the scroll wheel also. And if that weren't enough customization, you can also make application-specific adjustments, which is very useful if you have particular gestures or shortcuts you use when like editing photos or writing documents, for example. Overall, Logitech has made the Anywhere 3 a much more capable mouse than the 2S, and it gives you gestures that you're more likely to use, like a clicky scroll wheel, and they've gotten rid of these things like this horizontal kind of shift that you had on the 2S that I don't think a lot of people actually used. But despite all of those improvements, Logitech may have taken away the one thing that the 2S has going for it over the Anywhere 3. You see, the 2S is a little bit bigger with a slightly rounder palm arch and is more comfortable to use on a regular basis. Don't get me wrong, the 2S is still a small mouse and not the most ergonomic. For that, you'll want to go up to the Logitech Master Series, but these are portable travel mice, so it makes sense to trim them down into the physical package that you see them here. The differences between the 2S and the 3 physically aren't huge, but noticeable if you're upgrading between the two. So which of these two mice should you get, the Anywhere 3 or the Anywhere 2S? Well, if a clickable scroll wheel is a deal breaker for you, then you have to go with the 3 since the 2S doesn't have a clickable scroll wheel. Now, if that's not a deal breaker for you, and it doesn't really matter that you can click down on this scroll wheel, then I'd say the 2S has a slight advantage because it is a little bit more ergonomic and just more comfortable in the hand. And if you are a 2S user and you're wondering if you should upgrade to the Anywhere 3, then I'm guessing that clickable scroll wheel isn't a deal breaker for you since it hasn't broken the deal and you're actually using this mouse, then there's no good reason to upgrade to the 3. In fact, I think this mouse is a little bit more ergonomic, it's a little bit more comfortable in the hand, so it's easier to use over longer periods of time, or even for regular use. If you don't have too big of hands, you could probably use this on a daily basis. And this thing is a little bit slimmed down, a little bit too small to be ergonomic. So they cut out a little bit of the ergonomics. But again, it comes down to that clicky scroll wheel. That's really the major difference aside from the physical shape of these two mice. Either way, the price of both of these mice is about the same, about $60 and $70. And Logitech is still selling the 2S new. They're even selling the 2 still new, so I don't think support is going to be discontinued anytime soon if you end up going with an older model. That's my review of the Logitech Anywhere 3. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful, and if so, hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I'll have new videos for you every week, and I will see you in the next video. Clicky scroll, Anywhere 3, but with some free